Purchasing your first indoor guinea pig cage or upgrading your existing one is something a lot of us owners aspire to, we work hard for, and we save up for. It's such an amazing feeling to be able to give our piggies lots of space for hay, hideys, toys and enrichment, things which ultimately give them a better life. So in this video, I'll guide you through the 5 most important things you should consider when buying your first or upgrading your guinea pig's home. And along the way, I'll mention some of the recommended cages I've come across in my research. And we're gonna start off with size. This is the #1 reason for people wanting to upgrade their guinea pig cage. Having a bigger cage means that you meet, or even better, exceed the size requirements for guinea pigs, and it can also mean that there's space for more guinea pigs in the future. It can also make cleaning easier as the cage doesn't start to look dirty as quickly. All good things we want to have in a cage. So firstly, if you're watching this and you haven't got piggies yet, my advice is always go for the biggest cage size you can from the beginning. It will cost more in the long run buying a cage just to upgrade it a year or less later, and the best time to give extra space for piggies is when they are younger and will make the most use of it. That doesn't mean we shouldn't give our oldies more space too though. Also, don't be deceived by your guinea pigs. They might look small now, but they definitely won't stay that way. Likewise, if you're upgrading, size should be one of your priorities. It might mean that you choose to relocate your guinea pig's cage into a different room in the house. Guinea pigs are generally good at adapting to household sounds around them, so as an example, you might want to consider moving them from a smaller bedroom into a larger family room. The thing to remember for cage size is that a lot of pet store cages are just too small, so I highly recommend checking out the guinea pig cage size guidelines. Also, remember that size should be measured on the flat level. Multi-level cages with lots of different levels aren't really suitable for guinea pigs and shouldn't be considered an upgrade. So if you're after a ready-to-go cage that requires minimal assembly out of the box, then your choices are limited, which can kind of be a good thing because there is a lot of choice out there when you start looking. There are some examples out there that are big enough for pairs of guinea pigs though. So the Midwest guinea pig habitat is a very popular cage, and the KT Open Living, the larger of the two, is also a great size. And as for other brands, do look at cages that might only be advertised for rabbits. Usually these cages are perfectly suitable for guinea pigs and they are bigger. A couple of other cages in the UK are the Square My Little Friends cage and cages on the Hamster Homes website. I'll make sure I link these two in the description below. Moving on to #2, and another great consideration for new cages or upgrading is to get a cage that's customizable, so it can be made bigger or made into a different shape for a relatively low cost. Immediately, C&C Cages spring to mind. C&C stands for cubes and coroplast, and these types of cages grew in popularity because of how customizable they are and because they're also a great way of giving your pigs more space for a low cost. And the beauty of C&C cages is how easy they are to modify. So for me, one pack of grids and connectors has lasted me years and multiple different cages, and today I still use those grids for setting up floor time or outside time in the garden. For upgrading your C&C cages, you might only need to invest in some new coroplast or Corex plastic, as this is usually reusable too. And they're also great for creative upgrades where you might just want to change the shape of the cage or add exciting elements in there like new loft areas or separate compartments within the cage. These days you can also get C&C cages that are pre-made in case you don't want to or can't build your own from scratch. This is where all the measuring, cutting and scoring of the plastic is done for you, so you simply connect the grids together and assemble the base with minimal effort. You will of course find that there's a premium on cost with these cages, so if you want to have a go at creating your own C&C cages, the materials are fairly easy to come by these days. I highly recommend it. The fact that I'm not DIY minded at all and I managed to build some is enough said. But going back to pre-made cages, there are some other customizable ones available. Those that I mentioned before, the Midwest and the KT Open Living, are customizable to the extent that you can combine 2 or more to make a bigger one. So you could say make an L-shaped cage or a double length one or a double width one, but you can't get the precise measurements, say if you're trying to fit the cage into a certain area of the room. Our third thing to consider for new cages and upgrades alike is the ease of use of the cage. This is basically how easy the cage is to clean out and do your other care routines for the piggies, including how easy it is to interact and spend time with them in the cage. My biggest recommendation here is to look at cages you can mount at a higher level. This is something I didn't think of too much before until I moved over to my newest style of cage. It is so much easier to clean and do our daily tasks if we don't have to bend down. It's something so small but definitely makes a big difference. And the good news for anyone thinking of going down the C&C cage route is that you can either use extra grids to create a stand, or you can mount them on a table or desk just like any other cage. Be aware though that you might want to have grids along the bottom of the cage as well, or have a way to securely fix it to the table, that way it can't slip off in any way. Having a cage at a higher level might seem more of a selfish upgrade just for us and fairly irrelevant to the piggies, but if it removes a barrier to cleaning and spending time with them, then they will benefit from it as well, and they might even become more tame and confident around you as a result. Factor number 4 is storage. If you get a bigger cage, will you still have room for all of their supplies? Or if you can work out having better storage elsewhere for these supplies, it might mean you can get a bigger cage or a cage upgrade in the first place. And this one kind of ties in with the ease of use point. If you can get a C&C cage on a stand or purchase a table or desk to mount your new cage on, you've suddenly got access to a great amount of storage space underneath it. In this case, you can purchase some of the storage drawers from IKEA or other home stores and have fun organising all of your piggy's supplies into easily accessible locations. This is exactly what I've done under my own cage, and it really does make it easier to keep the room organised and tidy up after the herd. At number 5, we have thinking about the aesthetics of the cage, something that traditional cage manufacturers tend to neglect. And again, it might seem like something that's more for us rather than the guinea pigs, and you should never ever downsize a cage just for one that might look a bit better. But you should definitely upsize, especially if having a cage that looks nice and fits in better with your decor or interior vibe means that you're likely to go even bigger. As I mentioned, pet store cages typically aren't great looking things. They've usually got plastic bottoms and a lot of wire bars going on, which isn't very attractive. And traditionally, it was also hard to make C&C cages look nice. But these days you can get different coloured grids and Corex, and you can even get see-through plexiglass panels, which really elevate the look of the cage whilst also making it easier to see your piggies. And the other option is to build your own cage. So you can easily create something like this cage behind me with furniture board, plexiglass, screws, and a drill. Okay, some DIY knowledge is required, but it really is very basic. So if you're lucky enough to know a handy person, why not ask them about it? It could be a great project and a way to create a beautiful cage that will last for many years to come at a low cost too. If you want to learn more about how we built this cage, then you can go ahead and watch this video, which explains all of the materials and how everything was put together. And if you want to hear about the inspiration and the story behind why I moved over to this cage, then this video is for you. That's all from us today, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching and I hope you picked up some good advice. Also, don't forget to give us a thumbs up to help YouTube show this video to more people. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We will see you in the next video. Bye bye!